Sherri Fox here with What the Fox. And I can bet money that some of you have some paneling just like this or pretty similar somewhere in your home, and you really wish that it was sheetrock. But maybe you don't know how to hang sheetrock, or maybe you just don't want to incur the expense of sheetrock. So I'm going to show you a relatively inexpensive way to make this look like sheetrock with a lot of patience and just a little bit of elbow grease. Come on, let's get started. Okay, the first thing we're going to need is just a putty knife. This is just a 6-inch putty knife. These do come in different sizes, but I like this size just for this purpose. And then what we want to do is just take some of our pre-mixed joint compound, and we're just going to put some in our tray. Now, we could go ahead and just use this pre-mixed joint compound, but let's say you would like for this to dry a little faster. Well, what you want to do is you'll just mix some powdered joint compound in with your pre-mixed compound, and you just kind of want to stir this up. You don't have to put a lot, just a little. And if it gets a little too thick, you can add a little bit of water. This is basically called 20-minute mud or fast mud. Now, it is a little harder to sand sometimes, but it will sand out nicely. So let's just go ahead and take a little bit of our mud. And what we want to do is we just want to fill these grooves in the paneling. And if your paneling has any nicks or scratches or holes, it would be a good time to go ahead and fill those as well. So we'll just continue to do this all around the room. And depending on how deep your grooves are, we may have to do this again. But we're just going to go ahead and let this dry, and then we'll see where we are. After our first coat of putty has dried, what you want to do is just fill. And if your paneling has deep grooves like this one, you're going to want to put another coat of putty. So we'll just do this all the way around the room again. And in the middle here, if you have some, I guess, ridges, just put a thin coat of your mud on those, because we're going to sand this and just make everything extremely smooth. Now that our second coat is dry, what we're going to do is this is basically an attachment. And I'm using 100 grit sandpaper. And what you want to do is you just attach it to a pole. You can attach this to a broom pole, a painter's pole, just anything that attaches to. And see, this pivots. So it's going to make it very easy when we start to sand around the room. And you just want to go ahead and sand. After you have sanded the area, you do want to inspect the area. Just make sure, and usually feel is better than sight. Just feel the area and see if it's smooth. If it isn't and you need to apply some more mud, this is where the patience comes in. Just have a little patience. Go ahead and feel anything that needs to be filled until it's flush and smooth. Now let's just get ourselves a damp rag and let's just quickly go over the area, just to wipe some of the excess dust from the area. And now we're ready to paint. So my recommendation is going to be to get a 1 1/4 inch nap roller. Now this is just a very thick roller, and what this is going to do is just kind of put a texture on this paneling, basically just to hide some of the imperfections that may still be there. Now I'm going to show you what you don't want this to look like. Let's say you don't have enough mud in your grooves. This is what it's going to look like if you don't take the time to prep this paneling correctly. As you can see, you can still see the grooves, and it just looks like all you did was just paint paneling. This is what you do not want your finished product to look like. Now, if you did prep your paneling correctly, this is how your finished product should look. As you can see, we can't see any lines. The paint's going on very smooth. And this thick nap roller does give it just a little bit of a texture. And you cannot tell that this is paneling unless you were to go up and knock on it. So let's look at this side by side. As you can see, if you take the time and you have the patience to correctly fill these grooves and smooth it down, you're gonna get this pretty finish versus it just looks like you painted paneling. Now, once you have finished your entire room, if you go back and inspect it, and let's say you see a couple of spots that looks like it needs a little bit more mud, just allow your paint to dry. Go ahead and fill it again with some mud, sand it down, and then just repaint it. I also suggest that you put a coat of primer under your paint. That way you're not having to do so many coats of paint. But there you have it, guys, our finished product. I hope you enjoyed the video, or at least found it useful. If so, how about a thumbs up? But if you'd like to see new videos posted weekly, don't forget to subscribe. But maybe you've got a project that you need some help with? Hit me up with some comments. Thanks once again, guys, for tuning into What the Fox. Until next time, take care.